This is a list of habits that are popular in the overall self-help realm that are intended to improve life in general or your performance in life. Which of these do you think could help us photographers the most to improve our craft? I don't know either. Well, probably none of these. However, there is one habit that I think will definitely have a massive impact on your photography, and in today's video I want to share it with you in the hopes that it can help you as well. If you've been following this channel for a while, you might remember that a couple months ago I felt like I wasn't shooting enough and I had kind of fallen out of consistently practicing my photography. And so to tackle that and become more consistent again, I decided to do a 30-day challenge, which initially failed. However, on second attempt it worked out great. And so I regained my consistency in photography. The months that followed were great. I was shooting much more and also accumulating more and more good photographs, shots that I like. In this process of improving my approach to photography, I've been learning things, and I feel like this has now ended up becoming a sort of 3-part series. The first video is that one from the 30-day challenge, and the second video is the one I published a couple weeks ago, in which I talked about the art of noticing and how the simple act of being present and noticing will greatly improve your photography. And this video right here is episode 3, I guess, in which I want to share with you one more thing that I've learned. The simple habit that will improve your photography is photography itself. So what do I mean by this? First, let's define the word habit. I found this definition online that states that a habit is a usual way of behaving, something that a person does often in a regular, repeated way. I love the way this definition puts it. A usual way of behaving is just how we are, how we normally act. And I think by making photography this something you just usually do, you will greatly improve your photography. Let me elaborate by comparing my older self to my present self. I used to think, I want to go out and practice my photography and capture something, so let me check the weather to see which day is good, and where should I go? Let me check Google Maps, and so on. Photography in this case is a conscious effort I make. I purposefully make the decision to go out on a certain day at a certain time with my camera to look for certain photographs. However, when photography is a habit, there is a fundamental difference in the approach. You are always shooting. There is no conscious decision to go out on a certain day with your camera to shoot. You simply always have your camera with you and you're always aware of your surroundings, as I was talking about in that last video. And hence, you're always ready to shoot when an opportunity arises. This thought of making photography a habit came to my mind recently, and I began thinking about it much more and how it seems to improve my photography. I have many more thoughts on how exactly this works to share with you, and we'll get to that. However, while thinking about all this, I also thought of a person, a friend of mine, who I think is a wonderful embodiment of this idea. His name is Florian, Flo in short, and he lives in the south of Germany, about 2.5 hours by car north from where I am. And so I decided to visit him and show you a photographer who in my opinion has integrated photography into his life so well, and see what he has to say on this topic. This day, I got up shortly after 5 to arrive at his place in the morning so that we could shoot together in some decent lighting conditions. As you can see, the route I had to drive went through the mountains in the morning sunshine, which was so gorgeous, an incredible start of the day. I live in the Alps, and so I had to drive through the northern edge of the Alps to get to Germany. I knew that where Flo lives, the environment will be rather flat, with small hills around and a lot of forests, and while driving, it was really fun to see the change in environment. And I could really see how I was coming closer and closer to the place I know from Flo's photography. By the way, speaking of his photography, I should give you a brief introduction. Flo loves to document his life and photograph anything that he thinks is interesting. Because he lives on the countryside and loves to take his dog on a walk through the forest, his photography may, however, seem more like the work of a pure landscape photographer. What stands out most to me in his style are the vibrant colours, the pastel and sometimes faded look, especially when shooting on a misty morning, and the subject matter, which mostly consists of the forest and German countryside sceneries. Oh, and how could I forget insane light rays? After shooting in the forest together, we sat down and I asked him a couple questions on this topic, starting with when he began to just have his camera with him all the time.
Like I said, I had the urge to document this, to document everyday life, to document mundane situations, mundane things in life, because I wanted to. I wasn't capable of speaking out what I wanted to do, but it was capturing the beauty in the mundane, capturing the beauty in everyday life moments and everyday life situations. I wanted to photograph my life, and this was the start, this was the beginning. Till today, I want to document my life and my mornings with my dog when I'm out and about, and my everyday life situations other people are eventually not able to see. For example, those light rays we experienced in the forest and stuff like that. So many people are not capable to see them because they are not getting up early, they're not interested in, and they probably do not see this beauty in the mundane, those small moments that can be gone in just a second. And that's my approach till today, to document those things.
Auch das, dieses diffuse hier. 10 von 10.
What Floor describes here ties in so well, I find, with the points I've been discussing recently. While having this intrinsic motivation to photograph one's life, one must also practice to be present and to notice things others might miss. This is what that whole video was about a couple weeks ago. Early on that day, Floor was telling me about the people in his neighbourhood not noticing the gems that surround them, and so simply by noticing that the forest nearby even exists, but also the beauty it holds within, can lead to some fantastic photography. We humans are just so good, I guess, at missing what is right in front of us. There are so many opportunities, they just have to be noticed. The thing with opportunities though is that they are often disguised. Sometimes I shoot something and don't think much of the shot, but then a couple weeks later I suddenly realised that I really like the photo for something I just didn't see in the moment of capturing it. So opportunities aren't always obvious. However, to capture those opportunities, you also have to be prepared, always. And that is why I think making photography a habit can be so powerful. I asked Floor further about this idea and this is what he had to say.
Könnt ihr den ganzen Tag rumlaufen, Bilder machen.
Take your camera with you and just look what happens. I'm just a guy who's taking his camera with him and who's capturing those small little moments. If you're capable of giving yourself those 30 minutes before work to just get out and take some photographs, that 1 hour after work, that maybe taking a small point and shoot camera with you on your runs and stuff like that. If you're able to get those small portions of photography into your everyday life, I think in the long term you're going to gain so many beautiful memories you otherwise wouldn't have been able to capture at all. Multiple times, multiple occasions where I'm not taking a single photograph. It's not that ticket you're going to buy and get perfect shots every time. Just having your camera with you doesn't mean you're going to get those pictures. You have to have it with you and be lucky and be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your local weather and stuff like that. And then you have the possibility to get perfect pictures, the possibility to have pictures at all. But it's no guarantee. So I think it gives you this opportunity, this little ticket where you could take perfect pictures with you, but it's no guarantee. You have to give yourself the chance.
Then, before we continue, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsor who continuously supports me in my work here, Squarespace. Squarespace is a wonderful all-in-one website platform that I've been using for my website for nearly 4 years now. That is where I present the different projects I've worked on or am currently working on, ranging from short films to photography projects. So here you can look through my work with a little thumbnail and then click see more if you want to see the details, where I've either placed the finished work or it says something like in post-production. What I personally love about Squarespace is their interface, which is really simple and easy to understand, so that someone like me who wants to present their work online and doesn't need a super complex website can easily build it myself. You can start off with one of the many templates and then customize those to fit your own needs and taste. Head to squarespace.com for a 14-day free trial, and then when you're ready to launch your website, you can go to squarespace.com/TeoCrawford to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for continuously supporting me in my work here. I really appreciate it. I really resonate with his points, and I think this is what we need to realize. This is why photography as a habit is so powerful. For me, this started during my 30-day challenge when I decided to have my camera with me even when just running boring errands. There's only a low chance that I'll find anything good or interesting to shoot, but if I do, I'll be happy to have my camera with me. And let's briefly talk about what it means to have your camera with you. I do not mean to have your camera with you in your backpack. Having your camera in your backpack is basically like not having it with you at all, because there is too much resistance for you to quickly take a shot. Every time you see something that might be worth shooting, you're going to be weighing in your mind, is this really worth shooting? Should I really take my backpack off, open it, get the camera out and shoot? On the other hand, if you simply have your camera hanging on you all the time, which is what Floor does, or if it's small enough that you can fit it in your jacket pocket, then there is barely any friction and you'll find yourself being much more willing to shoot. And more photos equals more chances of shooting a great photo. You're not going to shoot a great photograph if you don't give yourself enough chances to do so. Floor's photography is the perfect example for this. While many don't bother to check the forest across the field, Floor did, and noticed that there are so many things to see there if you look carefully. On the other hand, when Floor wants to practice some street photography, he is going to have to travel to the next bigger city. The point is that Floor's unique circumstances give him his own unfair advantage as a photographer. Those are great once you notice them. Everyone has an unfair advantage, and those can be leveraged as a photographer.
It's an unfair advantage to have a local forest a few hundred meters away from you, from where you live basically, to have the possibility to just go out for a walk and possibly get some nice conditions. But if you look out the window, in this particular moment, the conditions aren't that great. And most of the time, it's not that great. But getting this ticket every day and trying to get those conditions every day sums up to a lot of photographs. And that's the same for every aspect of photography. It doesn't have to be this beautiful forest with those light rays and stuff like that. It can be the busy street in your home city, in your hometown. Just going out and taking some street snaps isn't guaranteeing you those beautiful street photographs you're looking for. It can be 5 days in a week where it's totally boring, no interesting people are coming around and stuff like that, and you're going out on a day where you're not thinking about getting a perfect picture, but you've got your camera with you, and then it's happening. And you're aware of the situation, and then everything comes together perfectly, matches together perfectly, and then you're able to take the picture.
This is why I wanted to visit Floor and include his perspective in this video and show you the results you can get from someone who has integrated photography in his life so well. I'm still on my way to get there. I've made some great progress in the last few months, but sometimes I still forget to take my camera with me when I go out. So evidently, it's not quite a habit for me yet, but I'll get there. And I think Floor's photography demonstrates perfectly how making photography a habit and, like he put it, getting that ticket every day that could give you some great photos will have an impact on your work and, over time, make you a better photographer. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this, the last part of this trilogy, I suppose, on improving photography. I had so much fun visiting Floor, and I really appreciate that he was so enthusiastic to show me around and explain his point of view. I hope you could take something from this video. I'll leave a link to Floor's Instagram in the description. You should definitely check out the page to see all the beautiful scenes and moments he captures throughout his everyday life. Before saying goodbye, I would like to give a warm thank you to the lovely people supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much to each one of you. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, tutorials, or postcards, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also, I have a print shop, by the way, in case that is of interest to you. Also, link in the description. With that said, I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.